Hi, fun recap here. Today, I'll be explaining an interesting Ghanaian movie titled Potahto. Have fun watching. The movie begins with a scene where we see a lady watching her ex-husband having fun with another lady from afar. She then received a call from a friend who tried advising her, but she told her she wasn't going to leave a house she had worked hard with someone to build for the person just because they are divorced. In the next scene, we see her ex-husband having a similar conversation with his friend. He asked if he was comfortable living with the woman in the same house, and he said he was. That night, her friend tried advising her again to leave the man if she really didn't want to have anything to do with him and get another place, but she shut her down and insisted on staying there. In the next scene, we see her talking to her driver to make sure he always parked her car at the right side of the house because he didn't want anything which belongs to her to be on the man's side of the house. When the man arrives, he asked about the new changes and the driver said his madam ordered him to do so. She tries freshen up but kept remembering how angry she used to be when she was with her ex-husband. The man on the other side opens the tab and has flashbacks immediately as well. Apparently, his wife never treated him right, so as a result of that, they used to argue almost all the time till they vowed for divorce. Later that day, the woman's mother came to visit. While she was having some quality time with her daughter, she tried talking to her about the divorce thing. She was never in support of it and felt the man was a good man who deserved a second chance even if he was the one at fault, but her daughter refuses. Later sees her mother-in-law in the kitchen when he was going to grab something and greet her. When she saw her, she was so happy. She always used to call her son and still did. She immediately offered him food, which he rejected because he thought his ex-wife wouldn't be okay with that, but the woman wouldn't take no for an answer, so he had no choice than to accept the food. That day, he tries talking to his ex-wife, but she sent him away. The next day, he invited his friend over and they started talking. But the moment he sees his wife, he left him to go talk to her because they were friends too. They then had a short conversation about how long it's been seeing each other and stuff, after which he goes back to tell his friend to take back his wife because she was too beautiful for him to divorce her and he thinks she's a good person, but gets a cold attitude as response instead. The next day, she finds out her ex-husband brought in a beautiful lady as his help, which surprises her. When she gets to the office, she tells her friend about the situation at hand and how unhappy she was seeing that girl around. The next day, the man sees a stranger washing the wife's car and he questions him, and it turns out he was also hired by the woman as personal help, which surprises him, but he laughs because he realized the woman was just copying his movement. So because he got a female help, she also gets a male help, and laughs about it before leaving for work. That night, he asks his wife why he didn't tell him before bringing him someone into the house. She responded by saying he didn't tell her either, and that was when he reminded her of wanting to talk to her about it when she actually sent him out. The next day, the man buys his help a gift for being a good help, just to show her appreciation, while his ex-wife watches from upstairs. The next day, she also calls her help into her room and hands him a gift, which made him think the madam liked him and so kissed her, but instead, he received a slap from her. When the man saw her help descending with a gift in hand, he laughs because his wife finally confirmed that he was copying his movement. That night, he returns home with his friend to find out the two helps were actually having an affair. He then asks them both to leave his house. On their way out, they meet their madam, who looks shocked at what she was seeing. She gets angry after they leave and attacks her husband for bringing such a shame and causing such a mess in their house. Her mother hears what happens and returns to their house again to allow both of them say their own part of the story. But even after listening to them attentively and trying to resolve the issue, she couldn't. That night, the man blames himself for introducing the help personnel into the house in the first place and prepares tea to apologize to his wife, but She accepts his apology and they both had a short conversation over tea. After that, they became friends again and even started talking to each other nicely. He later apologizes to his wife in the evening and she forgives him. The next morning, she started arguing with him again for no tangible reason. Her husband tells her he was tired of living with her with this her attitude of attacking him all the time, that he was planning on selling his part of the house to someone else, which angers her even more, and because of that she locks him outside when she returned from work that evening, and they argue again because of that. When she finally opened the door, their helps with guns in hand together with a man enter the house. They explained that ever since they were kicked out, they were jobless and had been waiting for an opportunity to enter the house to rob, and they felt today was the right time. They tied both the husband and wife down and started searching around the house. The male help accidentally shot himself, and the husband and wife offered to help him if they released them, which they did and were sent out of the house after that. That night, he had a serious argument with his wife because it was her fault they got into this mess in the first place. She tried retaliating, but the love they had for themselves were stronger than the hatred, and they ended up reconciling instead. The man then had a conversation with the woman, asking her if she really loved him and was willing for them to get back together, but she didn't show much interest, so he went along with his plan of selling the house. The next day, he introduced another lady to his ex-wife as his girlfriend, since she wasn't interested in having anything to do with him anymore. She later saw them together as couples, enjoying their moment, and she couldn't help but feel jealous. She finally moves out of the house and discusses it with her friend at the office. She tells her friend how surprised she was finding out her husband moved on so quickly after she moved out of the house, that she felt he had been waiting for such an opportunity for a long time. Her friend then makes her describe how his new girlfriend looked, which she did, and they laughed, after which they changed the topic and started discussing men they were interested in instead. One day, Lulu's ex-husband was having a conversation with his friend when he tells him that even though he wanted him to get back with Lulu, he wasn't the only one who was having issues with his marriage. He then explained to him how he had an affair which almost ruined his marriage after his wife found out. But the good thing was that their marriage and bond got stronger after that, unlike his friend who chose to divorce his wife instead of settling their issues instead. He then tells him his situation with Lulu was a whole different case, and they let the topic slide. Lulu's mother introduces her to her friend, who was happy to see Lulu again because she was at her wedding. The woman then asked her how she was doing and how her husband and her family was doing. But before Lulu could say anything, her mother chips in and says everything is fine, that they were okay. She then asks if they've had any children yet, and also again, before Lulu could say anything, her mother chips in and says not yet, but very soon they were going to have so many kids. After which she left with her friend before she asks any more questions which might lead to any sort of embarrassment. Lulu later tells her mom she was pregnant, which got her angry because she was surprised her daughter could carry another man's child few days after she moved out of her matrimonial home, and starts scolding her. But Lulu explains that the baby she was carrying was for her ex-husband. This got her mother a bit relieved and excited, but just then Lulu said she was going to abort the child because she wasn't willing to carry the child of her ex-husband while he was going to be free moving around with his newfound girlfriend. Her mother then tells her not to abort the child considering her age, but she said her mind was already made up and she needed all the support she could get from her mom, even though she was against her aborting the child. That night, she visited her matrimonial home again and told her ex-husband when he returned from work that she was pregnant. She made him understand that she was carrying his child but then was going to abort the baby, simply because they weren't together anymore. He asked Lulu why, and Lulu said he already had a girlfriend and a whole lot of stuff. And he said he would be willing to take Lulu back only if she loved him, and Lulu tells him that she actually do love him. After which they reconcile and Lulu clears off the thought of aborting the child. They then made out on the couch and started sorting out their differences. But while they were talking about the pregnancy and how Lulu got pregnant, she got angry because she thought her husband intentionally impregnated her and started yelling at him and questioning him if he intentionally got her pregnant so they could get back together. He tried defending himself that he wasn't aware, but Lily wouldn't take that answer and continued yelling, which got them into another heated argument. The couple started arguing again immediately, and that was how the movie ended. Potato, potato. The end. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this. See you on the next episode.